I will tell you in just a minute. Would you mind taking a deep breath right now? Would you mind taking another one? Welcome to A Course in Miracles. I'm Earl Purdy. I want to welcome those watching on Facebook Live. We're going to try to get down on the truth, and that ain't no jive.
Yeah.
We're going to see if we can let something else come into our minds. If you're here for the first time, I'm going to go through the guidelines for the Course in Miracles class. These are only the guidelines. And the guidelines are, remember only this. You need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. I'll say that again. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. A part of you might want to go, hell no. It's all right. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of it's going to sound hard to believe. And some of the ideas may be quite startling. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe. Some of it might be what? Hard to believe. You're not asked to analyze and judge the ideas at all, even though I know that it's probably going to happen. It's just the way we roll. The Course in Miracles says that if you would actually use some of the ideas would have meaning for you. Because if you try the ideas, you will see that the ideas are true. That actually the ideas themselves will show you that the ideas are true. You need not believe the ideas, and you need not accept the ideas, and you need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe, and some of the ideas you may find quite startling. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all. It says their use will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. I'm going to ask Spirit to show us that the ideas are true. Let's ask love to show us that the ideas are true. Let's ask the universe to show us that the ideas are true. Show us that the ideas are true, Spirit. Open our eyes to another way of looking at things. Let us open our minds enough to hear something, even if we don't believe it. We're willing to hear it. Everybody clear on the guidelines? Yeah. You don't have to believe it. Yeah. Just be willing to hear it. And today we're going to be on page 262 in the Course in Miracles, if you got the book. And it's going to be the section called Release from Guilt. It's in chapter 13, The Guiltless World. 262. Those of you online, those of you on Facebook, those of you watching Facebook Live, I want to welcome you. Thank you. You're watching from all over the world. Thank you for all the wonderful feedback that I have been receiving. What I'd like you to do is pretend that it wasn't an accident that you showed up today. Like you, even no matter how you got here, I want you to just for a minute imagine that it's not an accident. That maybe there was something that's going to be said today that you need to hear. So try not to focus so much on what you might not understand or what you may not agree with. What you want to focus in on is, what is it that I heard today that for whatever reason, when I heard that, it made sense to me, or somehow or another, it felt like it was an answer to something that I've been trying to figure out. So I'm going to go through the first paragraph. The Course in Miracles says, you're accustomed to the notion that the mind can see the source of pain where it's not. The Course says, we're accustomed to thinking that the problem that we're going through or the pain that we're going through is really being caused by something that's not really the reason why you're going through the pain. So we're actually used to thinking what's causing the pain is not what's really causing the pain. For instance, if you're upset about something right now, you may be telling yourself you're upset because of what you think is going on in the outer, what that person said or did, whatever their situation or circumstance is. And so the Course says you're never upset for the reason you think. So as soon as you're upset about something, one of the workbook lessons in the Course in Miracles says you should say to yourself, I'm never upset for the reason I think. Because if you think you're upset because of what you think is happening, the Course says that's not what you're really upset about. What you're really upset about is the meaning that you're giving to what's happening. What you're really upset about is the meaning that you're giving to what's happening. So I'm never really upset about the thing I'm upset about. I'm upset about what I'm telling myself about the thing that's happening. So my upset really isn't called, I can't make you mad because I say something to you. If you get mad because of something I said to you, it's because of the meaning you gave to what I said to you. And that's what's upsetting you. Can everybody follow me on that one? So really, you're not upset for the reason you think. You're not really upset because the person came 30 minutes late to pick you up for an appointment. You're upset because of what you're telling yourself about the person showing up 30 minutes late for the appointment. So the Course is saying you're accustomed to the notion that your mind can see the source of pain where it's not. The doubtful service of such displacement is to hide the real source of guilt and keep from your awareness the full perception that guilt is insane. Now, the Course in Miracles says that guilt is insane. Interesting. That guilt is insane. Because it says guilt is a request for punishment. That when a person is feeling guilty, in most cases, they think they've done something that's bad, and then there's a part of the mind that thinks this is something that I need to be punished for. People very seldom jump up and down with joy when they're feeling guilt. Okay, so we are accustomed to the notion that guilt, which is the request for punishment, the Course in Miracles says is insane. It's insane to ask for punishment as a solution to a situation. It would be much better to ask for the correct perception. It would be much better to ask for another way of looking at it than to just beat yourself up because you feel bad about something and want punishment for yourself because you feel bad about something that hasn't really done anything to correct it at all. So every time you're feeling guilty, all you're saying is, universe punish me, universe punish me, universe punish me, universe punish me, universe punish me. And so we're shocked when all of a sudden we seem to be experiencing what we think of as a lot of pain and conflict and drama in situations. But what that really is the actual punishment that the person is asking for as a result of feeling guilty. Now you see where I said, you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not even welcome the ideas, and some of the ideas you may actively resist and find hard to believe. Then it says, displacement is always maintained by the illusion that the source of guilt from which your attention is diverted, that source of guilt must be true, that source of guilt must be fearful, or you would not have to displace the guilt into what you believe to be less fearful. What I'm really feeling guilty about, there's a part of me that doesn't really want to acknowledge what that is, so I'm going to come up with some other reason that I'm feeling guilty other than the real cause of guilt. And the Course says the real cause of guilt is ultimately feeling like you're separate from your source, feeling like you're separate from that which created you, God, so to speak. So I'll say that again. What I'm really feeling guilty about is I'm walking around thinking that I'm separate And I think I'm separate because I'm not connected to source. Because the Course says if I really felt truly connected to source, I wouldn't feel afraid and I wouldn't feel guilty. If I knew I was really connected to source, which is love, then I wouldn't feel guilty. Because I would only be coming from a place of love. And if I'm coming from a place of love, I'm definitely not coming from a place that I'm doing something that's going to make me feel guilty or attack anyone else. So what we are really telling ourselves we're feeling guilty about, the Course is saying that's not really what the guilt is about at all, whenever we feel any level of guilt. Because there's a part of us that doesn't want to look at the real cause of every problem that we think we have. And the Course says the real problem is feeling like I'm separate from that which created me, separate from God, separate from spirit. That if, I'll say it again, if I really knew I was connected to the infinite love, the infinite power that creates all things, and I knew that, I would not be afraid, I would not be guilty, I would not be going off all the time, and I would not be feeling a lack of peace. If I really knew I was connected to source. But if you tell the average person that their only problem is that they think they're separate from source, they won't see the relevance to that answer. If I think the problem that I'm going through is something that's happening at work, and you tell me, oh, it's not really about the evaluation you think you got at work, your real problem is you think you're separate from God. They go, what the heck are you talking about? That doesn't seem to have any relevance to the fact that I'm having a hard time with my kid. And that's what the Course is saying, that we love to come up with other definitions of the problem that is not a reflection of the real problem, and that's why it says the problem just changes form. I call it the merry-go-round of hell. I got a financial problem, I get the financial problem solved, and all of a sudden, my relationship starts to have issues. I get my relationship issues solved, and then I get laid off of my job. I get the problem solved about getting laid off of my job, and now I'm sick. You follow me? It's like as soon as it looks like one thing is solved, then before we know it, there seems to be something else that we're dealing with. And the Course in Miracles says that's because we're not dealing with the real problem. It says that if you really solve something, you only have to solve it once. That something that's really solved is not something that you keep on having to deal with over and over again. So if I really solve my relationship problem, then my relationship problem is solved. And so I won't have that problem anymore. The biggest relationship problem is most people in relationships are telling themselves that the other person were different in some way, they'd be happy. I counsel with people in relationships often, and no matter what they are saying, back and forth what they're saying is, if you spoke or acted differently, then I would be happy. And the other person said, no, if you spoke and acted differently, then I'd be happy. No, if you spoke and acted differently, then I'd be happy. No, if you changed something about you, then I'd be happy. That's the problem in relationships. The problem is taking your power away, taking your happiness away by believing that your happiness is dependent on somebody else and somebody else's behavior and what somebody else is saying and how somebody else is acting. If you set up your life that way, you're guaranteed not to have any kind of consistent peace. Because you can't control that. You can't control what somebody else is saying, acting, or doing. But don't you see that as being a very common attitude? Yeah, that's a very common attitude. Tell me what's wrong. Well, I'll tell you who needs to change, and then I'll tell you how that's going to be fixed. And that especially happens in special relationships. So the Course is saying we're not looking at the real issue. The real issue is my relationship to love, my relationship to God, which is the same thing as my relationship to source, and my relationship to self. So the Course says that whenever you remove yourself from the problem, you just set up a situation in which the problem becomes unsolvable. Because if you take you out of the equation, then you just got rid of what the problem is. So now the problem can't be solved because now you believe it's somebody else. Now people who like to perceive themselves as victims, they don't like stuff like this because their happiness in their mind is dependent on looking at themselves as being at the effect level of what's happening outside themselves, which is a very convenient way to never do your own spiritual work and to not ever change yourself. So I understand why that's so popular. I mean, it is a lot easier for me to just sit back and say, boy, you know,
My problem is that I'm a black man and everything out here is against me. So I'm a victim of society, culture, my race, and everything else around me. That could be and I'm not saying that there are not factors that come into play, don't get me wrong. But bottom line is, if I wait until everybody liked all black folk, I'd never be happy. I'd be dead before that ever happened. So I can't afford to make my happiness dependent on everybody else finally deciding it's okay for Earl to be Earl and Earl is okay. Can you feel me? Okay, so you got to cut it out too. If you sit around waiting for somebody to do something different, then you're not looking at the real problem. And so that's a displacement. Okay? And so the Course says insane ideas have no real relationships, because it says that's why the ideas are insane. So no real relationship can rest on guilt. I'll say that again. You can't have a real relationship with someone if all you're doing is using guilt in order to manipulate each other, which is another very popular thing. One popular thing that never works is, if you were different, I'd be happy. The other thing that doesn't work is, I'm going to make you feel so guilty that you do what I want you to do, and I'm going to make you feel so guilty you never leave me. So I'm going to keep the relationship together by how guilty and angry I get all the time about you not leaving or abandoning me or going somewhere. So guilt is also a very popular way to manipulate others. Anybody familiar with that? Have you ever been guilt tripped? Okay. Have you ever put a guilt trip on somebody? Okay, that's not a real relationship. Okay, I don't want to force somebody to try to be loving to me because I make them feel so guilty that they don't go anywhere. Because it won't work on a person who loves themselves, because a person who truly loves themselves would never allow you to play that game with them. So guilt trips only work with other people who want to do guilt trips. Guilt trips only work on someone who actually believes they are guilty. But a person that's beginning to recognize their spiritual identity, their innocence, their purity, their power, how loving they are, they wouldn't put up with a person using guilt to manipulate them for 2 friggin' seconds. So, if you really want to have a real relationship, you don't punish people into staying with you. You don't just let them out the cage to go to a movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we got 3 hours, I'm letting you out of my psychic cage. Okay. And you're not loving somebody when you got the GPS tracking everywhere they go, when they wasn't around you. That's not love either. Okay? That's insanity. That's insanity. Because it says, for all relationships that guilt has touched are used to avoid the person and the guilt. What the heck does that mean? That means that if I'm trying to use guilt, then I'm really trying to avoid, if I'm trying to make you feel guilty, I'm trying to avoid the real cause of my guilt, which is what's going on in my own mind. And I'm not really willing to look at the guilt. And so the Course in Miracles says, what strange relationships you have made for this strange purpose of trying to keep people in relationships through using guilt and anger. Do you know what anger is? The Course in Miracles teaches that anger is an attempt to make someone feel guilty. So the more angry I am, the more you're supposed to give in to what it is I want you to do. So if you decide that you're no longer going to feel guilty and you're going to want to know your innocence, and you've been in relationships where you have allowed people to use guilt in order to manipulate you, those people who are used to using that, when you no longer give in to their guilt trip, they are probably going to escalate their anger and guilt at first. They're going to get more upset. But you must not give in, because you have to demonstrate that it won't work on me. Now what happens is they'll escalate, but when they see that it's not going to get them what they want, then they'll be open to trying another way of getting their program across. But the temptation, if you feel guilty, is going to be to cave and to give in. And if you cave and you give in, what you're telling that person is, the way you get me to do what you want me to do is to attack me. The way to get you to do what I want you to do is to attack you. So remember, people always give what they want to receive, whether they realize it or not. Okay, so if I want love, I'm going to give love. If I want peace, I'm going to give peace. But if I think I deserve attack because I don't love myself, or maybe I don't feel worthy, or maybe I've been in abusive relationships since my childhood and I'm accustomed to associating love with pain, and I don't think I'm worthy, and I think I need to be punished, then I'm going to attack and use anger, because that increases the possibility that I'll receive attack back, which is what I think I deserve, punishment back. So you don't have to be able to be a mind reader to know where people are coming from. All you have to do is watch what they're giving, and you'll know what they want to receive. So there are no private thoughts. That old adage, action speaks louder than words, there's a lot of truth to that. So give what you want to receive, because the universe will always give you back what you're giving. That's the cool thing about universal law. Anything you want, just be it. And when you become it, you'll have it. Because when you become it, you'll attract it. If I want to have love, I have to be loving. If I want to have peace, I have to be peaceful. What you have a lot of times is people wanting things that they aren't giving. I want to be with people who are loving and compassionate and non-judgmental, and who will give me the freedom that I want to have. But on the other hand, what I'm giving is a lot of possessiveness, jealousy, insecurity, and domination. But I think that's going to attract somebody to me that's kind and loving. No, a person that's kind and loving is going to avoid you like the plague. You will be the last person that they'll want to be with. Because they can see. They got a little nasty habit. They can actually see. So it's really interesting how many people want people who they don't have the qualities of the person that they want. That's real common. That's real common. I'm insecure and I'm fearful, but I'm praying every day for the perfect lover, the perfect friend, It's like, wait a minute. Somebody like that, they're not looking for a dysfunctional love. They're not looking for someone they have to fix and constantly try to convince to be loving. So what you're probably going to attract is someone just like you. Okay? You know what the cool thing is about that? Now, if you all are sane enough, then you can work on going beyond your blocks together. See, that's the cool part. Okay, I know I have some issues with jealousy. It's going to be really hard for me to be with a person who has no issues with jealousy. It's going to be more of a challenge. But if I have an issue and you have a similar issue, we could be more understanding of each other, because I have that issue too, and we could go beyond that issue together. But again, that's not what the average person does. They'll want the biggest introvert in the world that wants to get over their introversion will be attracted to the biggest extrovert in the room, and then be threatened by them the whole relationship. Right? Rather than saying, okay, I know I'm more quiet, maybe it'd be cool to check out being with someone similar to me, and if we want to become more extroverted, we can work on that together. See, that's too simple. That's too simple. And the Course in Miracles teaches that simplicity is very difficult for twisted minds. That the more twisted my mind is, the harder it is for me to relate to simple concepts. So it says next, and I'm going to give you an opportunity for feedback in a minute, but it's a few points that I want to make from this page. It says you forgot that real relationships are holy. That means real relationships are innocent. Real relationships are loving and cannot be used by you at all. So a real relationship is loving, so that's not a relationship that you want to use just for your own egotistical purposes that have nothing to do with everybody winning and everybody benefiting. It's rare you see a person that says, I want a relationship, and then they list a number of things, the reasons why they want the relationship is for all the cool things they want to do for somebody else. It's usually they'll say, I want a relationship, and you ask them why, and they'll tell you all the reasons that they want the relationship to be used to make them happy. I want somebody I can do things with, I want somebody I can go on vacations with, study with, hang out with, get affection with. Notice that I'm saying I want the relationship purely for my satisfaction in the fulfillment of my desires. So he says a loving relationship is never a relationship that's going to be just used by you at all. It's going to be a relationship that brings love and joy to everyone that's involved in the relationship. It's not going to be just about me. It's going to be about us and our happiness and how it's going to benefit you as well as me. That should have thrilled everybody. But so far, I just need to close my book and leave. And nothing I'm saying really turning nobody on in here at all. I'm saying you deserve love. That nobody needs to put a guilt trip on you. You need to be free. And I'm saying from my end up here, it's like,
we're slow. We're stunned today.
We're stunned.
We're slow. We get there.
but I'm going to keep teaching anyway. I don't care how much you don't want to hear that your butt deserves to be happy. I'm going to keep telling you you deserve to be happy. It's so funny teaching this stuff. You just be teaching, you deserve love, you deserve freedom, you deserve abundance, you deserve kindness. Then you go somewhere else and say, you're going to hell. Yes, yes, Lord. Yes, yes, Lord. And I'm tired. Okay. You know, it's funny. And that's what the Course in Miracles is saying. There's a part of us that doesn't believe that it deserves to be happy. There's a part of us that believes it's guilty. There's a part of us that is insecure in terms of things that we've been taught. That part of us has been the part of us that we've been letting form our relationships and our goals and what we try to do. And then we're shocked when we're in relationships and situations that we're not happy in. Where do you think that came from? He says, it didn't come from anybody but you. You're the one that gave him your phone number. You're the one that said, here's my Facebook. You're the one that says, here's my email. You're the one that's creating the relationships that you're having. I'm the one that's creating the relationships I'm having. So I'm ultimately responsible for what I'm experiencing in my relationships. It was like I was walking down the street and I get kidnapped off the street and this girl said, you're going to be my man. That doesn't happen that much. It has happened a couple times. Yeah, sometimes I'm just that irresistible. I'll be walking down the street, somebody just, get in this car, boy. You know, you gonna party tonight, you know. But it doesn't happen a whole lot of times. The Course in Miracles also says we need to lighten up. Lighten up. Your spiritual path is not supposed to be something that's a toil. It's supposed to be something that brings you joy. I tell people all the time who studying the Course and they're fighting it every inch of the way, and I go, this might not be your path. Your spiritual path should not be something you go, oh my God, I gotta read that book. It might not be your path. Your path should be something that inspires you. It should be something that moves you. That is why it is so beautiful that there are many paths to God. There are many paths to love. There are many paths to truth. There is not any one path to God. There is not any one path to love. There's not any one path to love. There is one truth. Just like there's one unity church. And there's a lot of ways to get to it. So I'm not going to condemn you because you came down 17th and someone else came down Colfax. But that's what we do. We condemn the paths to the same place. Or I would say, you better only come down Colfax to get to Unity Temple. That's it. If you come down any other street, you're missing it. But it might be quicker for you to come down 17th. So I welcome anybody wanting to be on a spiritual path that would make them more loving. I don't care how you are doing it. I don't care what path you're on. If it's going to make you a better, more loving person, somebody that's not hiding behind a building to mug me, I'm okay with it. So I'm not going to be condemning someone else's path. And so this may not be for you. It might be for somebody else, right? So why do I want to be that way? Because I would like to attract open-minded people to me. And the only way I can attract open-minded people, because of the law of attraction, is I have to be that way myself. I have to be what I want to have. I have to be what I want to have. So the Course in Miracles then says, real relationships are used by the Holy Spirit, and that's what makes them pure. So that means that real relationships are used by love. Holy Spirit is love. So a real relationship is a relationship that's going to be used by the part of you that's loving. That's what a real, I want the love in me to use the relationship that I have with you. You want the love in you to be in charge of your relationships, don't you? Would you like to have love in charge of the relationships that you have? Okay. 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 All right. All right. okay. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. I bet you if I came in here, I bet you if I came in here and said, guess what? All of you all are getting free trips to Hawaii. Most of you, if not all of you, would not go. And the Course in Miracles says, well, the reason why you don't get upset, Earl, is because it's not the way you decided that you're going to be happy. So you haven't heard the way that you decided your happiness is supposed to come. So that's why you don't get excited about it. Because you know what, Earl? You don't really think your problem is the fact that you think you're separate from God. You think the problem is the fact that something needs to change outside of you and then you'll be happy. So what you're looking for is for somebody to tell you what needs to change but you. And then you'll be happy. How it's going to come to you without you getting involved in what's coming to you. So that's why, Earl, you know, because Spirit talks to me quite clearly now after all these years, because the purpose of the Course is to teach you how to separate your voice that you're making up from the voice of your higher self, your spiritual self within. It's saying we're always listening to two voices. One voice we made up, the other voice is our true spiritual identity. And we have a tendency to listen to the voice we made up more than the voice for God. And then it says, how can you tell when you listen to the voice you made up? He says, it's easy. You haven't gotten what you wanted. You're not happy. So what does your ego say? What does the part of you that wants you to go on the wild goose chase tell you? It comes up with another thing outside of yourself that you think is going to happen to make you happy. It's going to tell you it's the next things, the next boyfriend, girlfriend, the next house, the next job, the next car. It's going to always keep pouring you out. Oh, you just haven't done the right thing out there. As soon as you do the right thing out there, you're going to be happy, even though you know from living your whole life you've never gotten anything that completely satisfied you to the point that you just didn't want anything else. And then the ego mind tells us, well, that means that you are a slacker if you don't continually want something else, something else, something else, something else, and something else. And the truth is, what you want to do is appreciate, 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 have gratitude, have gratitude, have gratitude, have thankfulness for what you have received, and then you will find yourself having more and more to be thankful for. It's through gratitude that your good increases, not through coming up with one meaningless thing after another that you think is going to make you happy. See, I used to want to have relationships with people so they could fulfill my fantasies. So I really wasn't interested in the person, I was interested in the fantasy. And as a matter of fact, I would prefer that they kind of stayed uninvolved so I could join with my fantasy and uninterrupted. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Because you're going to blow my fantasy right now if you enter the relationship. I don't want you in the relationship. I want my fantasy. So I want you to do what my fantasy is. I'm going to be frank with you. I was all about the fantasy. I know I'm all alone. That nobody else in the room has never had a fantasy that they wanted anybody to act out. So, yes, y'all, I'm so special. I'm so special. He says that real relationships are used by the Holy Spirit, which is your loving spirit, and that's what makes them pure, because a relationship used by love is a relationship that's pure. Then it says, if you displace your guilt unto them, then the Holy Spirit can't use them. If you keep using your relationships for guilt, then how is love going to use a relationship that I'm already using for fear and guilt? How is love going to use a relationship that I'm using for something else? How do I know I'm using the relationship for something else? I'm not feeling peace. I'm not feeling joy. I'm not feeling happiness. It's not rocket science, Earl. How do I know that I'm misperceiving something? I feel like crap. I feel upset. I feel sad. I feel sad. I'm not happy. So what does that mean, Earl? It means there's something about your perception, Earl, that is incorrect. It's something about your interpretation that's incorrect. But what does Earl's ego say? No, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with them. No, Earl. You're the one that's feeling this way, so you're the one that's giving it the meaning, so you need a new meaning that you're giving the situation. So anything that you're using to keep yourself unhappy, then that's something you're not using and giving to your higher power to use. And what you don't give up to your higher power is not something your higher power can use for your release. If I don't give it up to love, love can't use it to free me. You have free will. You can choose how you're going to use everything that you know. no one who would unite in any way for anyone for their own individual happiness is going to find it in a strange, guilty relationship. If I join with you and it's all about me, we're going to have problems. So anytime I enter any relationship that I just want to use for my own individual salvation, my own individual peace, the Course in Miracles says I'm not going to find it. I'm never going to find peace in a relationship that I'm not also interested in the peace of the person I'm in a relationship with. It would be better for you not to ever enter a relationship than to enter a relationship only interested in your own happiness to the exclusion of the person that you're in the relationship with. Because if you're not in a relationship and you're not trying to, if you're just concerned about your own happiness, don't get in one. Because it'll be easier. Because then I don't have to deal with the fact that I'm not concerned about your happiness, which you're upset about, by the way. So you're letting me know you're quite upset with me all the time. Where if I wasn't in a relationship with you at all and I was only interested in my own happiness, there's nobody to be upset about the attention I'm not giving them. But if I'm going to get in a relationship and still only be concerned about my own happiness, the other person ain't going to like that, so we're going to be processing. And we're going to be working things out, and we're going to have to sit down and discuss this. So don't even enter a relationship in which you're not willing to learn how to care about someone else equal to you. Not more than, not less than, but equal to. It's too many people trying to enter relationships that has nothing to do with the happiness of the other person, really. It has to do with the fulfillment of their fantasy that they want you to act out for them. And that kind of happiness, the Course says, you're not going to find your happiness in it. So if you're a selfish person and you're not in a relationship, you are in a happy position. Now that doesn't mean that you are not a person who could have happiness with another person because you've chosen not to be in a relationship. What I said was, if you're entering relationships and the only thing you are concerned with is your individual happiness, then you're going to have problems. Did you hear the difference?
Yeah.
So everybody doesn't need to be in a relationship. Everybody doesn't need to be in a relationship any more than everybody needs to be a parent. Or everybody needs to get married. You know, we got all these supposed tos. If you're not married and you had a child and have a house and a 401k, you got a problem. Suppose you don't want any of those things. That doesn't mean you're any less than anybody else. So it's really important for you to choose what you want. And then when you enter a relationship, to ask, what is the purpose of this? What is it for? What do we want to have happen in this relationship? It can't be because they were cute. I know. The cuteness, the cuteness is the cheese in the trap. See, you wouldn't get in the lesson without the cheese, you know what I'm saying? So if you have a lesson to learn, it has got to come to you in a form that would attract your attention. You know, that's the way it works, so we wouldn't be interested. You know, there's somebody out, you are perfect for somebody. There's somebody right now praying for a guy that has a little bit of a pot stomach that's black. And she's out there. I know she's like, oh, no, I want that stomach. That's him. I want it. That's the man I'm looking for. I want that dude. There's somebody for everybody. And the universe knows who that is. You don't. The problem is you keep picking, and you got a broken picker. Some of us have broken pickers. We have broken. The part of us that chooses has a tendency to choose what we think we deserve, and if I don't think I deserve love, I'm going to always choose what? The person is unavailable, and the person is not interested, and the person that I can't really be with. Because the truth is, I don't really want a relationship. I'm terrified of one, and if I keep wanting what's not available, then I don't have to be in a relationship and I can say I really want one. Because it would make sense if I wanted something, I would go where I could have it. But every time I find myself being insistent on going for something where I can't have it, I have to admit to myself, I don't really want it. That's why it's not happening. I don't really want it. I'm afraid of it. And the Course in Miracles teaches that when you ask for something in fear, it's not what you want. So if a person says, I want a relationship, right? And then they go, God, but I'm scared to death of being in a relationship because of what happened to me in the past. Well, at that point, you don't really want it, even though you're asking for it. And so the universe responds with either you not getting one or you getting one but you have a lot of fear in that validates that. So what should I do, Earl? What should I do? Work on your issues of changing your mind and loving yourself more so that it will be a whole person wanting to have a relationship and not a person that feels like there's something missing that the other person is going to fill in and validate. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what we do.
But if you think that you're not enough, that's a depressing statement because then it'll seem like I'll never have it. If it depends on me loving me and I don't love me, then what you just said is love will never show up for me if I got to love myself first. But I also said earlier, you can also join with somebody else who knows that they want to do the same thing and then do it together. Also, you know what's so cool about the truth? The truth always has a solution that you win all the time if you're willing to hear it. You never lose with the truth. You always lose with a lie in your perception. So why is a relationship that's about your own individual happiness? He says, why is it that you won't find happiness in that strange situation? It's because it's not shared. So if the desire for happiness is not shared, then it's not real. Whatever is not shared is not real because everything that's real is something that we all share. That's how real it is. Now, in what I've said so far, would anybody care to share what they heard that had the most meaning for them? Yes.
Well, when I was married for 10 years, and due to domestic abuse, that was icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
So when we went to sell the house, hopefully sell the house, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that way. I turned the keys over to him, and I said, you put me through hell. If you want a divorce, why didn't you ask me for one? And you know what his response was?
What?
I want my old wife back. He wanted my wife back to give me control. When I started standing up to him, because he told me one day, when you learn to respect yourself, I'll respect you. So I said to him one day, well, now I respect myself. Well, that was like his worst nightmare come true. This is what he said to me, so I did exactly what he said. When he turned the keys in, he said, I want my old wife back. And I said, sorry, but I am the person, I am the real person that I meant to be, not one to be controlled.
You know, one of the things that's interesting, I read somewhere one time that said that the average man enters a relationship not wanting the woman to change, and the average woman enters relationships always wanting the man to change. That it's exactly the reverse. So it made perfect sense to me when he said he wanted his old wife back. The average male ego wants you to stay the same if it's male, because that's controllable and I know what that is and I can depend on it. Then the average female will tend to be, well, he's not all the way what I want to get. There's a few things I just need to twerk a little bit. And then he'll be the perfect guy. He's about 80%. But if I can just go and get that other 20%, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on him so good, he'll do it. He's going to do it. I'm going to tell him I'm not trying to change him, but I'm going to do it so good he's going to want to change anyway. Right? So it's the same era. Because the minute you started to love yourself, what happened? You were no longer willing to put up with the abuse. Yeah. That's why that game of abuse and manipulation doesn't work on people who are waking up. And also remember, projection makes perception. So whatever somebody's saying about you, they're revealing their own mental process. So whatever he was accusing you of, he was really saying, I am this way, I am this way, I am this way. So if you're listening to someone, pay attention to what they're saying about everybody around them because they're revealing the kind of mind they have. So you can't claim you don't know where that person's coming from. That person goes out with you and they're being really nice to you because they're trying to impress you, but they're totally rude and uncaring to the service person, to the waiter, whoever is there. That's the person you're going to be with, not the one that's trying to impress you because they have a fantasy they're hoping is going to happen that night. You know what I'm saying? If it all goes well. So, you know what I'm saying? Pay attention to how the person is extending and projecting to other people. How they're talking about their last relationship. That's going to tell you everything you need to know. If they're telling you that their last partner and they're just criticizing them and condemning them, that's what they're going to do to you. Because it means they haven't taken any responsibility for anything that happened in that relationship. That's why many people jump into a new relationship before they've had a chance to go inside and look within to see what may have happened in the last one so it can be corrected. Why? Because they don't think it had nothing to do with them in the first place. It was your fault. So I don't need to work on me. I can be in a new relationship next week. It didn't have anything to do with me. I'm nice. Right? Right? So, or people wait a long time between relationships and they'll say, I'm ready for a relationship now. Why? Because it's been 2 years since I've had one. But you didn't work on yourself in those 2 years. Only thing that happened during those 2 years is you forgot the part you played to make the other one a disaster. So now you're ready to enter into another one without any correction whatsoever. And then you wonder, why did I repeat the same pattern? You're the same person. You're a person that's expecting someone else to change in order for you to be happy.
Oh, I have to add one more thing.
Yes.
So he ends up with a new girlfriend after we got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Ends up controlling him.
Mm-hmm.
She steals my money. He puts it in a 401k
Okay.
in her name.
Uh-huh.
She's dangling the carrot over
Uh-huh.
him, and he can't get away because she got all the money. So he thought he would hide it from
Okay.
me.
It doesn't sound like love.
No.
It sounds like some more insane what we were just hearing. Total insanity.
Yeah.
But check it out. Who did he attract?
Same.
Someone just like him. The
Right.
same thing I said earlier. You're going to always draw yourself to you. You don't have to worry about karma. You don't have to worry about punishing people. Sometimes the person just being themselves is as much punishment as they deserve. Just the way they are creates. You know, I know people that every time you talk to them, there's some kind of drama, something is going wrong, no matter who they're with, no matter where they go. And it never dawns on them that they're the common denominator in every one of those situations that they're in. It's amazing. They really think I just picked all these different people in situations where things didn't work out. And I'm the one thing that's the common element in every one of the situations. And it's also true in situations where you're happy, in situations that you're fulfilled, in situations that you're satisfied. When you go from one situation to another one where you're getting a reflection of love and people are being loving to you and open to you, that's because of who you are. That's no accident. It's not you, this pitiful person, and you have all these beautiful friends and all these beautiful people around me. You are beautiful.
Yep.
You just don't realize how beautiful you are and how loving you are. So the purpose of a relationship is to never let you forget that. You want to be with somebody that's witnessing to you that you are innocent, you are beautiful, you are valuable, you are a treasure. So that when you forget that, which is easy to forget in this world, there will be a reminder of what the beautiful things about you that you've forgotten about yourself. Not someone that when you say, I'm pitiful and pathetic, they go, you right about that. Did you forget the other thing you did? Have you had those type? You don't choose it. Don't choose it. Don't choose it. Recognize misery and go the other way. If you're on a desert, you're not going to stop and try to irrigate it. You're going to leave the desert. Hello? Hello? Recognize misery and go the other way. There's no law of the universe that says you got to stay in a miserable situation or you are somehow not committed. No, you need to be committed. If you've done all you can, if you tried to use the relationship to go beyond guilt and fear, if you tried to be as loving and cooperative and communicative as you possibly can, and all you meet is resistance, 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 it's insane to continue to stay in a situation like that. There is no justification for that other than you don't believe you deserve to be happy. You're not loving yourself. So leave that person alone. Leave him alone. If they say, I'm not going to change, it's your fault, I'm not going to do anything any different, then leave him alone. Don't try to change them. They were honest with you. They said, I'm not going to do anything you want me to do. I think you're crazy. Then honor that. They have a right. But you don't have to stick around and keep yourself in a situation where you're only giving yourself pain unless pain is what you want. And let me tell you, it can't be, the Course says to wholly desire is to create. So it's no way you can totally desire something and not create it in your experience. If I totally desire love, love is going to show up. But I got to totally desire it. Because if I don't, I won't recognize it even though it's in front of my face. It'll be right there in my face and I won't even see it. Because I can't see love because I'm not loving me. Right? So that's the purpose of doing stuff like this. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, my man.
So about 25 years ago, after one relationship after another, I meet this guy and he says, so you want to have a relationship, Joel? I go, yeah. He said, I want you to come up with 5 things for your ideal relationship. Not somebody else's, yours. And so I really thought about it and I thought, well, she would be kind. And then I thought she would have a spiritual basis. I got like 5 of these things. He goes, now, you're really sure that's what you want in a woman? I go, that's what I want. And he looked at me and he goes, then that's what you must become. So I put it up on my mirror. You know, you want kindness every morning. Learn how to be kind. I mean, you want a spiritual, and all those things happened, Earl. It all happened, you know.
The truth, it works. Again, you saw yourself as the solution to the issue. You said, I wanted to become what I want to have. That's why people work more on their bodies sometimes in their appearance than they do on their consciousness, because we're in a world that if you look good, you are good. You can be a serial killer, but if you look like Tom Cruise, you get invited home. You know what I'm saying? So here in this world, it's all about how you look. And so that's why we're so focused on that, because we know that. But the truth is, it's what you are. And you can still look cute. That's not saying don't go ahead and work out. Is that what you think you need to do? But you want to also attract somebody that's sane, if at all possible. And remember, a sane person is not someone that's using guilt and anger to manipulate you to do what it is they want you to do. That's the message today. Is don't use guilt to manipulate other people in order to get them to be the way that you want them to be in order for you to be happy. Recognize that the most important relationship you can possibly have is your relationship with your Creator, your relationship with love, and recognize that you're the one that's giving everything all the meaning it has for you. And recognize that you want love to use your relationships and not fear and insecurity and guilt. And if you have blocks that you know you need to let go of, get a spiritual discipline or curriculum that will teach you how to let those blocks go. Don't try to make it up as you go along. Get the spiritual path. The Course in Miracles was that for me and other people who are attracted to that path. But it may be something else for you. But don't look to your own ego to be your ultimate guide. Try to learn from wisdom that's greater than your own so that you can be on the fast track. Because guess what? You only deserve love. That's all you deserve, is complete love. Would you acknowledge yourself for hearing this much with me today? If you think that's true for you, could you acknowledge you? Woo! Okay, I'm gonna do a quick recap, and then we're gonna be out of here to go make some more guilt. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I'm a full-time teacher of the Course. And it also keeps us in this beautiful place. If this is the first time you've been here, check out this place. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, then go to my website, earlpurdy.com. I don't charge any particular fee for what I do because I want everybody to be able to take part in it regardless of their financial situation. And I trust that those who feel moved will share. And Holy Spirit's in charge of that. God's in charge of that. I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions, where I use my 40 years of experience with astrology and numerology and New Thought in the Course in Miracles. And I bring that into our session together and show you practical ways to get past blocks that you're dealing with and can even at a soul level get you in touch with why you are here in the first place and what your lessons that your soul is trying to learn and being here in this experience, and the easiest way to approach that and go about that. We were not dropped in this experience to just wing it. We have guidance that we can call on, but we're in a society that doesn't educate us to be open to things of the intuitive, psychic, spiritual side of things. So we keep ourselves a lot of times from receiving information that's ridiculously helpful because of the way we've been educated to be closed-minded about things that seem different. So those of you who intuitively would like to get another kind of insight, as well as these insights that we get through the course, go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and it explains what I do in detail, and I believe I could be assistance to you. There are no original problems. You're not that special. You're not going to come up with something that nobody else has ever had to deal with before. You're not that good, no matter how special you think you are. That's good news. That there's not anything you can think of, that there's not another way to look at it that you can handle it. And so it's available. It's available. So one thing I heard today that, thank all of those of you who came to the workshop yesterday, the Course in Miracles workshop online and here in person. That was awesome. Yeah, that was hardcore, and that's what I said. It was deep, and I needed that. I teach best what I most need to learn. And go to my website and sign up for the contact list so that you will know the next time that I'm doing workshops. Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook Live, I do the Way of Mastery, so you can catch this online. Also on Thursdays, I do what I call Hardcore Course in Miracles at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook Live. And then on Sundays, this is what we're doing right now, the Course in Miracles, at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So even if you're not a member of Facebook, you can watch it. All you do is go to www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. Facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. And you can watch the live broadcast. If you do it through Facebook, we can also interact and you can also communicate. That people have been online and making some incredible contacts. I really love that there's also like this really soulful, powerful group of people from all over the world that have gotten to know each other through these live Facebook broadcasts. And they're constantly communicating and sharing with each other. And it's really gratifying to see the family come together in here and online. So my goal is to help people let go of every block, every guilt, every fear, anything that keeps them from experiencing their life with total fulfillment. That's the purpose of my classes. That's the purpose of what I do. What I like to do is join with other people who want to do the same thing, but who are willing not to be in denial about the fact that there are things within themselves that need to be corrected or healed. If you're already perfect and it's everybody else's fault and you got it together, I'm rejoicing with you. Wonderful. Those of you who know that you couldn't be attracting stuff to you unless it was somehow connected to you and you want to get past that, I'm going to tell you, the Course in Miracles is a trip. It takes no prisoners. So I can understand why a lot of people it's challenging for them, because it really, like today, you know, it's like how many things that I said about guilt that came from the Course in Miracles, you had to admit that you know you've done it before. And you also know somebody's probably tried to do that with you. Not for you to condemn yourself because I said that, but for you to make the decision that that's not the way you want to do it. And how can I get past doing it that way? And then using me and other teachers as a way of going beyond that. That's where the fun is, because you all deserve to be treasured. The Course in Miracles says, you know what, when you really see each other correctly, you would be scarcely able to refrain from falling down on your knees with tears coming out of your eyes because of how beautiful that person is looking to you. You know, you're going to come home from work or go see your partner or friend, and you walk in the door and you say, good evening, dear, and they go, oh my God, you're so gorgeous, oh my God, I can't even believe how beautiful and wonderful and spiritual and innocent you are. Let's go to Applebee's. Okay, so on the way to Applebee's right now. You know, that's the way it should be. That gives you all something to work toward. Okay? So
Let yourself hear this quick little review before we rush out into the dream. You ready? Here we go. Well. Would you be willing to say one thing? I bless the world because I bless myself. 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 Now I'm going to make what's a real holy sound. You ready? I want you to hear this holy sound. Ready? All right, here we go. Then after me, those who feel like saying the holy sound, I want y'all to make the holy sound. Okay? All right? Okay? All right? Okay. All right. It's serious stuff. Okay, you got it? Y'all got it? Y'all ready for the holy sound? Anybody can do the holy sound? All right, you ready? All right, only those who want to do it. We don't want no half holy sounds. If you don't feel like doing it, you keep your mouth shut. Just be with us in spirit, okay? We're looking for the people who don't want to do the holy sound, not the ones who feel like they're at the dentist and I'm trying to pull their teeth out, okay? Okay, so it's all right. You cool. You cool, okay? All right. Okay. You ready? You got it? You ready? All right. That's what you should be saying about your life and everything in it. Give it up, Holy Spirit. Y'all awesome. You awesome. Woo! Those of you online, y'all awesome. And guess what? Hugs are available. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time. Whoa. Oh.